Hey guys, Ryan Lancer, your host, coming at you again. This is Dirt Technology Podcast, episode 2. And hope you guys enjoyed the introduction, episode 1. I put it out there, it's been out there a couple weeks. I hope to have the second episode up by now, but been pretty busy. So without further ado, this is episode 2 of the Dirt Technology Podcast. And I give it a lot of thought on what topic to cover, and spent a lot of time on it, going back and forth with guests and whatnot, and I came to the conclusion that I wanted to cover something that I know very well, can speak on very well, and what I consider to be one of the most least adopted new technologies in earthwork excavation construction, site construction. It's gaining a little bit of ground, but not as much as I thought it would have by now. The ROI and the value is so big. I expected it to go further, and I know that it will in time. It just takes a while to adopt. I can think back to when GPS first came out and how long that took to adopt for old school companies and whatnot, and now 50% of excavation contractors are running GPS, and I think we're approaching, in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be 90%. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I can already see it amongst our current clients. It's growing rapidly year over year, the adoption of GPS machine control, but we're going to save that for another episode. On this episode, I wanted to talk about the technology of drone mapping, as it pertains to excavation contractors and site contractors. So I think it is one of the most underutilized technological advances in construction today. And I feel that way because I have been involved in many projects firsthand that I have seen a huge return on investment all across the United States, with several projects, several use cases. I started learning about drones 10 years ago and adopting them into my excavation workflows for stockpile measurement and basic things. And I've grown over the years to really hone my skills and be able to produce a highly accurate model of the measurement of the surface with a drone, to under a tenth, even half of a tenth of accuracy. Now, amongst drone and surveying individuals, the topic of accuracy can be quite controversial. There are many forms of accuracy: absolute accuracy, relative accuracy, and I'm not going to get into all that today, as I want to really touch on the basic tech, what's the easiest way to implement it in your company for the least amount of cost to get your feet wet, per se, with drone technology, and start maybe utilizing it, just getting comfortable with it, learning how it works, for as little upfront investment. That's really that's where I think the most value is get into it with a low upfront cost, kind of get your feet wet, get comfortable with the idea of using drones to measure your site, and in time you can up your kit, buy more expensive drones, buy better software, computers, and you could really hone and fine tune and hone your workflow to make the most profit and the most ROI. But I think that comes in time. There's not too many companies I see that go right out and spend 50, 60, $100,000 on a drone setup, a computer to process the data, software and everything. It can be overwhelming. There's lots of choices. There's lots of manufacturers out there. There's tons of software out there. The whole drones in site excavation construction can be very overwhelming as time goes by, just because there's so many. You're kind of drowning in options. You call your local rep and you get a quote for a drone, and it's $30,000 or $50,000, and then you still don't have somebody that's licensed to fly it, and then you need special insurance, and then you need a special commercial pilot's license, and then you need $5,000 computer to process the data, and then you need $3,000 or $5,000 software to handle the data, and it can be very intimidating. So my whole goal here is to basically kind of get you in the door as least upfront cost as possible, get you kind of used to it if you're interested in drones. If you're not, that's fine. I just want to make you aware of what's out there, what your options are to get in at an entry level, low cost, to realize and see if there's something that you want to implement as time goes on. So, like I said, there's many different drones out there. But what I recommend, I'm not going to go into the high-end ones, RTK. There's tons. I could go on for hours on all the different brands and different styles and fixed wing and quadcopter and six prop and four prop and eight prop and 10 prop and lidar, and like I said, there's a lot to cover on this topic. I'm going to go very, very basic just to help you guys out, get you started. So the drone I recommend if you want to get started taking pictures, video, and mapping your site, meaning measuring the ground in 3D. The drone I recommend is a DJI Phantom 4 Pro version 2. And this is one of the drones here. This is a DJI Phantom 4 Pro. This is non-RTK, so non-survey grade chip. All that means is that the GPS chip inside of this drone is only accurate to plus or minus 15 feet horizontal, vertical. It's not going to, right out of the box, give you survey grade accurate data. There's a lot of other steps to get that data. You can get that data with this drone utilizing other steps such as ground control and software and whatnot, but I'll go into that. But to just get started, this drone runs about $1,600 online, DJI.com, Phantom 4 Pro version 2, about $1,600. You get a battery, remote. You can run it with an iPad, a phone, on Android, and basically you're flying for about $1,600, maybe $2,000 with tax out the door. You have a drone that you can fly, start taking pictures, start mapping. There's tons of different site capturing, flight management software out there. I'm going to go with the basic I think that you should start with, and that's Pix4D Capture. It is free on Android and iPhone. You can download it for free, and you can plan missions with this drone right out of the box to fly a grid mission to take photos, overlapping photogrammetry photo of your site. Now, like I said, this out of the box is going to get you data that's plus or minus 15 feet. So the point of getting this is you can get 10th or better vertical accuracy and horizontal accuracy out of this drone if you know how to set up site control and ground aerial targets. And there's a process to that, and there's a special way to do it, and there's a couple guys out there that show how. I'm not trying to sell my course. I have a little PDF that explains it. In fact, I'll probably give it away for free. If you guys are interested, just hit me up. I will send you my free PDF. I wrote it, 100-page book on how to set control points, how to capture data with this drone with a free Pix4D capture app. So ultimately, $2,000 investment, you are capturing data and measuring your site. You can measure progress quantities, you can check topography before you start, you can clear a job. Now this technology is called photogrammetry, so it uses photos, overlapping grid photos, with 70 to 80% side overlap and 70 to 80% front overlap. And like I said, my PDF will explain all that. So let's say you fly about a 30-acre site, take 150 to 200 photos, somewhere in that range. You can fly that in about a 30-acre site. You can fly that in about 10-20 minutes. This has a 20-minute battery life, so you can cover about 30 acres at about 200 feet, no problem. On something like that, I'd set up at least a minimum of 5 to 6 ground control points. You want to set it up like the five side of a diamond, or of a die, the 5 sides. So you got the 4 corners and the one in the middle. So that's the basic small square rectangular site setup for ground control, just very basic. I'm not going to go into a lot of explanation. Like I said, if you really want to learn, you can go and get my PDF. Just hit me up, shoot a message below, comment on my YouTube, shoot me an email. I'll send you my book for free. I sell it for $1,000. I'm going to give it away for free if you guys listen to this podcast and you're interested in putting drones on your site. But so you got ground control targets, and I use 2x2 white corrugated signboard, and you can put electrical tape, put an X on the middle. pound an 8-inch spike in the ground, you shoot that with your GPS, it's going to give you a northing, an easting, and an elevation. So if you don't have a GPS system, you can pay your local surveyor about $1,000, $500 sometimes. They'll cut you a deal, especially if they're already on site. And you can have them shoot your control points for you. Put those down first in the shape of like a 5-sided die, and then you fly your mission with this drone and Pix4D capture. It captures all the images. The images will go onto an SD card that plugs right in here into the drone. And when you're done, you pop that little SD card out, put it into your computer. And now this is the next processing software. So this starts getting a little more complicated, but still not too bad. It's pretty manageable, pretty self-explanatory. But if you download Pix4D Mapper, there is a fee, a monthly fee. You can subscribe. It's $300 a month. It's not a year contract. You can do month to month. It'll cost you around $300 for 30 days. So I recommended that. $2,000 drone, $300 software. You're taking photos, you're getting your feet wet, you're starting to kind of learn the process of how to map your site with a drone. And with probably the ultimate goal of having one of these in every one of your foreman's pickups, grade checkers pickups. Like I said, have several use cases. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Have several use cases of companies that I have seen on 30-40 acres do a topo verification by mapping their site prior to starting the project, and they have found 7,000 to 8,000 cubic yard busts. So if you're getting $5 a yard, that's $40,000. So, like I said, several use cases of people with a $2,000 drone, $300 a month software that have gone up and checked the topo. Enough to realize that there's a problem, enough to realize it doesn't match what's shown on the plans, enough to call the surveyor and say, hey, I think we have a problem, or the owner and say, hey, I think we have a problem. So that's your very base. DJI.com, Amazon, you want the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 DJI drone. Like I said, $1,600 to $2,000 out the door. Buy a little SD card. Download Pix4D Capture on your iPhone, iPad, or Android tablet. Very simple to set up your mission. It flies itself. You hit the button, the drone flies. It flies the grid. It lands itself. Pretty fail-safe for the most part. And you're working with drones. You're starting to measure stock. I would suggest stockpile to start. So you can do a stockpile measurement without ground control. So that's a very good starting point. You got a pile of dirt and you want to measure it. Get Pix4D Capture, get the Phantom 4, put a little grid map around the site, hit the button, it will fly a grid, download the pictures, you throw them in Pix4D Mapper, you process, and what it does is it gives you a highly accurate three-dimensional model of the site. Now, without ground control, it's going to be plus or minus 15 feet vertical from the elevation above sea level. But if it's a stockpile and you're just trying to measure volume, it's not that important to be tied down to ground data. You're just really looking for relative volume. So what does it matter if you're 315 feet in the air, 300 feet in the air, 1,000 feet in the air? You're just looking at the measurement between the bottom of the pile and the top of the pile. And Pix4D Mapper has a very good, simple little volume tool. You throw the pictures in, you process the data, you'll get the 3D point cloud surface, you trace the stockpile, and it'll tell you the amount of cubic yards. Very easy. Like I said, $2,000, you're up and running. It's really that simple. The reason people get so intimidated is because they call up their local machine control or GPS or equipment provider, and they say, I want to get into drones. And are there better drones, different drones out there? Yes, there are. There are drones very similar to this that you can buy through Site Tech dealer, or you can buy through any DJI enterprise dealer that has an RTK sensor right here on the top. And we have a couple of those. They're just all out on jobs right now. It has a little round RTK sensor, so it makes that sensor plus or minus 1.5 to 2 centimeter vertical and horizontal accurate. So all of the images, as they're loaded into this on the SD card, actually have a geolocation position. So they have a northing, easting, or a lat longitude and an elevation embedded in the photo. That's what Pix4D Mapper uses to mesh them together to create a 3D point cloud. Now think about if you add a RTK 1 to 2 centimeter vertical accurate sensor, now all of a sudden the geotagging embedded into the images is way more precise. And that's good for a couple of reasons, because now that enables you to not set as much ground control on the site. You can set 1 or 2 as a checkpoint. I would suggest 3, 4 still. I still use a minimum of 4 on all sites, even with an RTK drone. But your photos are going to be geolocated more accurately to their actual position of the drone when the picture is taken. So when it's post-processing in Pix4D Mapper, you have a couple ground control points. You can check in and make sure that your point cloud or surface, 3D surface, is in the right elevation, in the right location, and you're off and running. Now, the cost of an RTK drone is somewhere around $8,000, $7,500, and it's basically this exact drone with, like I said, an upgraded RTK sensor. So pretty cool. If you want to spend a little more money and do a little less groundwork with ground control, you can go that route. Like I said, why not get into it for $2,000, get your feet wet, learn on a simple drone that flies itself. It's got object avoidance, it's got return to home function if the battery goes low. If the remote loses signal, it's gonna return home. Pretty fail-safe. We have about 15 of these drones. We fly them every day. We've only had 1 failure in 5 years. Very safe. Definitely read and learn up on your local laws and your FAA laws, and don't break any laws. Make sure you're flying within the means of the law. Don't fly over people. I'm not going to go into all of the drone laws. There are some laws to be careful. You can't just go out and throw up a drone on your job. You do have to be safe. There are rules and regulations. But not anything a $99 online course can't teach you. And ultimately, if you want to become a commercial drone pilot, it's just a test. You can study, go take the test. It's around $150. Not a huge big deal. Not super hard, not super difficult to pass. And pretty much all my pilots pass first try. Study for about 2 weeks, go pass, no problem. So that's your base model introduction. Get you in the door on drone tech. I highly suggest that for even your smallest excavation company, because number one ROI I see on this, before you start actually building 3D accurate elevation maps of your site, the number one ROI on a drone is recording the site before and after you leave. So let's say you get called onto a commercial site, excavation site. You grade the pad, compacted, it gets signed off. You grade the site to within a tenth. The general contractor signs it off. You leave. We all know in excavation what happens after that. Utility companies come in, the foundation, the footing guys come in, the electricians come in, and blow up the whole site. Now, 2-3 months later, the general contractor wants you to come back, and you show back up, and you're all of a sudden hauling off truckloads of dirt. And you're like, this dirt wasn't here. I was within a tenth. What's going on? You know what happened. It's all the spoils from the other contractors that did not get removed from the site, and now you're left to deal with them. Now, if you can map that with a drone, you're legally documenting your site with photos and or videos, and you can actually legally document your site with a 3D surface. So you can refly the job when you pull back on, remobilize on the site, fly the job again, do a comparison surface, run the two, walk right into the general contractor or owner's office and say, hey, there's 2,000 yards of dirt sitting here that wasn't here when I left. How do you want to handle that? Very effective. It gives you the data, the proof to back up your change orders, and that just simply the ROI on that alone, and recording surrounding areas like sidewalks, roads before you start a site. Have you ever been out on a site? You do the work. A month later, you get a call. Hey, this sidewalk has a big crack in it. We're going to have to charge you for it. Well, with the drone, you can aerially document the site, and you have a legal recording of the conditions of the site prior to starting the job. Just that alone, the ROI is huge. And why more excavation and site contractors do not do that, I do not know. I want to make this short and simple. I don't want to go on too much longer, but I just want to add one thing. So if you have thought about getting into drones and you've gotten a quote from one of these other suppliers and you got a $10,000, $12,000, $20,000, $25,000, $35,000 quote, I've seen several of them. There are $35,000 drones out there, and pretty much, are they better than this? Personally, I don't think so. I've had the luxury of testing out many of them. There are good ones out there. There are some I would invest in, but as a starting out site contractor, I wouldn't drop $25,000 on a drone when you don't need to, when you can get just as accurate data from one of these $1,600 drones. Because ultimately, all a drone is a flying camera. Flying camera. It's a camera mounted on a flying vehicle. Basically, that's it. And the camera's doing all the work. The drone's doing all the work, preferably automated. And DJI has one of these simplest, easiest platforms and most affordable, economical platforms on the market. Nobody's been able to touch it. Now there are some up and coming drones, Skydio, an American-made drone. I'm looking into that for mapping. I'm not 100% convinced yet, but only because I haven't had the time to test it. There are some other people out there, some other companies like ours, like Skydio, that do drone mapping, that are doing some testing, and I've seen the results so far are looking good. But for ease of use, for price, for simplicity, for $149, you can get an insurance, 2 replacements a year insurance through DJI. If you crash it or crush it, it's going to cost you $149 for a new drone. I mean, how can you go wrong? $1,600 drone, $149 insurance, 2 a year. It's a no-brainer. You're going to save that money on the first job you document. I guarantee it. And like I said, I don't know why more contractors aren't doing it. So I'm going to keep it short today. That is episode 2. And it's basically just all about the drone tech. And I'm not going to go into full depth. But if you are interested in getting into drones, getting a drone on your site, I'm more than happy to help. Reach out to me. You can go to skyteach.info. That is where my PDF training program is. Like I said, I'm not doing this to sell the program. I will give it away for free if you send me an email and say you listen to the podcast. Let me know. Text me. I will send you my book for free. It is on sale for $99 on the website, I believe, right now. Like I said, I'll give it to you for free. Let me know you watched episode 2. Subscribe to our YouTube. I'll send it to you for free. It's a 100-page PDF book of how to capture data with this exact drone. It's not hard. It's gotten 10 years of my expertise and trial and error built into it, and I'm giving it away for free just for watching this. So hope you guys enjoy episode 2. Looking forward to the next episode, and I will catch you guys next time. This is Ryan Lancer, the Dirt Technology Podcast, signing off.